Is it true that the third temple in Jerusalem will be rebuilt? How, who, and when? Before we go to the third temple in Jerusalem, we need first to review the first and second temple. First, according to Jewish tradition, the Temple of Solomon, also known as the First Temple, was built by King Solomon, circa 990 to 931 BCE, long ago, on the spot where God created Adam, the first man. But the building was destroyed 400 years late. Second, Solomon's Temple and the Second Temple, the former having been destroyed during the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem in c. 587 BCE, and the latter having been destroyed during the Roman siege of Jerusalem in 70 CE. The Second Temple was Herod's temple, but Second Temple was built by Zerubbabel the founder, yet refurbished by Herod the Great, and was destroyed during 70 CE Roman siege. Now, as the third temple in Jerusalem will be rebuilt, according to some theologians, the third temple will be rebuilt in some interpretations. Is it biblical? Let us start to study. Many evangelical Christians believe that New Testament prophecies associated with the Jewish temple, such as Matthew 24-25 and 2 Thessalonians 2-1-12, were not completely fulfilled during the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70, a belief of full preterism, and that these prophecies refer to a future temple. This view is a core part of dispensationalism, an interpretative framework of the Bible that stresses biblical literalism and asserts that the Jews remain God's chosen people. According to dispensationalist theologians such as Hal Lindsey and Tim LaHaye, the third temple will be rebuilt when the Antichrist, often identified as the political leader of a transnational alliance similar to the European Union or the United Nations, secures a peace treaty between the modern nation of Israel and its neighbors following a global war. The Antichrist later uses the temple as a venue for proclaiming himself as God and the long-awaited Messiah, demanding worship from humanity. Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Christians believe that the Eucharist, which they hold to be one in substance with the one self-sacrifice of Christ on the cross, is a far superior offering when compared with the merely preparatory temple sacrifices, as explained in the Epistle to the Hebrews. They also believe that Christ himself is the new temple as spoken of in the book of Revelation, and that Revelation can best be understood as the Eucharist, heaven on earth. Their church buildings are meant to model Solomon's temple, with the tabernacle containing the Eucharist being considered the new Holy of Holies. Therefore, they do not attach any significance to a possible future rebuilding of the Jerusalem temple. The Orthodox also quote Daniel 9:27, "He shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, ... double quotes, to show that the sacrifices would stop with the arrival of the Messiah, and mention that according to Jesus, St. Paul, and the Holy Fathers, the temple will only be rebuilt in the times of the Antichrist." Quotations: Matthew 20:15, when you see the desolating abomination spoken of through Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, that the reader understand, closing parenthesis, ... double quotes. 2 Thessalonians 2-3, for let no one deceive you in any way. For unless the apostasy comes first and the lawless one is revealed, the one doomed to perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God and object of worship, so as to seat himself in the temple of God, claiming that he's a god. Do you not recall that while I was still with you I told you these things? Latter-day Saints LDS believe that the Jews will build the third temple before the second coming of Jesus Christ, and after the second coming the Jews will accept Jesus as the Messiah. Most Jews will then embrace the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Then it is believed the third temple will be God's temple as Christ reigns on the earth, and it will become the Jerusalem LDS temple. There will be many LDS temples, but 2 main temples will jointly serve as the central governing places. The Jerusalem temple will function as the resurrected Jesus Christ Eastern Hemisphere governing place, and the New Jerusalem temple in Independence, Missouri will function as the resurrected Jesus Christ's Western Hemisphere governing place. Both of these 2 temples will have thrones for Jesus Christ to sit on during his millennial reign. The Community of Christ, the second largest denomination of the Latter-day Saint movement, has operated a temple open to the public in Independence, Missouri since 1994. Another denomination of the LDS movement, the Church of Christ Temple Lot, possessed the temple lot, the actual spot on which the temple will be built. Latter-day Saints LDS believe that the Jews will build the third temple before the second coming of Jesus Christ, and after the second coming the Jews will accept Jesus as the Messiah. Most Jews will then embrace the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Then it is believed the third temple will be God's temple as Christ reigns on the earth, and it will become the Jerusalem LDS temple. There will be many LDS temples, but 2 main temples will jointly serve as the central governing places. The Jerusalem temple will function as the resurrected Jesus Christ Eastern Hemisphere governing place, and the New Jerusalem temple in Independence, Missouri will function as the resurrected Jesus Christ's Western Hemisphere governing place. Citation needed. Both of these 2 temples will have thrones for Jesus Christ to sit on during his millennial reign. The Community of Christ, the second largest denomination of the Latter-day Saint movement, has operated a temple open to the public in Independence, Missouri since 1994. Another denomination of the LDS movement, the Church of Christ Temple Lot, possessed the temple lot, the actual spot on which the temple will be built. Most Muslims view the movement for the building of a third temple on the Temple Mount as an affront to Islam, due to the presence of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock in the stead of the former Holy Temple. Today, the area is regarded by the majority of Muslims as the third holiest site in Islam. Muslims are resolute in calling for recognition of their exclusive rights over the site and demand that it be wholly transferred to Muslim sovereignty. Furthermore, some Muslims deny any association with the Mount to the former Jewish temples which stood at the site. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation was initiated in reaction to Dennis Michael Rowan, an Australian Christian, who set fire to a 12th century pulpit of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in an attempt to initiate the second coming of Christ. The protection of the Al-Aqsa Mosque is in the primary mandate of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. In the Baha'i faith, the prophecy of the Third Temple was fulfilled with the writing of the Sri-i Hakel by Baha'u'llah. In pentacle form, 48, the Sri-i Hakel, or Tablet of the Temple, is a composite work which consists of a tablet followed by 5 messages addressed to world leaders. Shortly after its completion, Baha'u'llah instructed the tablet be written in the form of a tentacle, symbolizing the human temple, and added to it the conclusion: "Thus have we built the temple with the hands of power and might. Could ye but know it, this is the temple promised unto you in the book. Draw ye nigh unto it. This is that which profiteth you. Could ye but comprehend it, be fair, O peoples of the earth. Which is preferable, this or a temple which is built of clay? Set your faces towards it. Thus have ye been commanded by God, the help in peril, the self-subsisting." Shaghi Effendi, the head of the Baha'i faith in the first half of the 20th century, explained that this verse refers to the prophecy in the Hebrew Bible where Zechariah had promised the rebuilding of the temple in the end times as fulfilled in the return of the manifestation of God, Baha'u'llah, and a human temple. Throughout the tablet, Baha'u'llah addresses the temple himself and explains the glory which is invested in it, allowing all the nations of the world to find redemption. In the tablet, Baha'u'llah states that the manifestation of God is a pure mirror that reflects the sovereignty of God and manifests God's beauty and grandeur to mankind. In essence, Baha'u'llah explains that the manifestation of God is a living temple, and Baha'u'llah addresses the organs and limbs of the human body and bids each to focus on God and not the earthly world. What kind of school of interpretations of view will you think from each of them? A. Preterist, B. Futurist, C. Historicist, D. And B. None of the above. To be continued for Part 2.